Welcome, everyone. I am Frida Garcia, co-producer of the Forged in Fire podcast, and I am so excited to kick off our Meet the Team segment with our hosts, Bree Fram and Liz Cavallaro. Bree is a rocket scientist and a lieutenant colonel at the U.S. Space Force. She's a passionate advocate for inclusion and just happens to be trans. Liz is an expert in leadership development. She's an associate professor at the U.S. Naval War College, where she coaches and helps develop the Navy's current and future leaders. Bree and Liz, I'm sure many of our listeners are already familiar, but for those joining who are starting to learn about your amazing work, let's start at the beginning. What is Forged in Fire?
That's a great question and something we're going to define over the course of this series. But what's really exciting is how we noticed a gap that was out there at the intersection of identity and leadership. So Forged in Fire, I think, is our attempt to navigate and fill that void where we can explore journeys of LGBTQ leaders and see what made them into the superheroes that they really are.
One of the things we found most interesting as we started exploring this concept was the way in which the unique individual journeys of LGBTQ+ leaders aligned with some of the theories and concepts of adult learning and development. The things that prompt people to become more complex and sophisticated in their thinking oftentimes mirror the kinds of crucible experiences that LGBTQ+ individuals face, including those related to adversity, marginalization, and discrimination.
Thank you both. Now, can you take us back when you met? And how did you two come together for this amazing project?
I was lucky enough to have Bree as a student in a 2020 graduate certificate program focused on leadership and ethics. The students in that program write papers on leadership and leader development. As we talked about her interest in exploring LGBTQ+ leadership development, we found that it aligned with my field of study, which is the study of mental complexity and advancing cognitive capacity. There are certain unique forcing functions, crucible experiences, or other significant and monumental shifts that we go through in life that can enhance or augment our cognitive capacity. We saw some really interesting elements of the stories of LGBTQ leaders that indicated the way in which they navigated their experiences, even those that are adverse, may contribute to that development journey in a way that is different or even more substantial than how others of us develop.
And for me, it was kind of a serendipitous moment where some overlapping intersectional ideas and concepts all came together. With the paper I was writing as part of my coursework, I looked at how minority experiences, any minority, and focused that on those serving in the military, how that developed them into leaders. So it was a lot about how adversity can lead to growth and can lead to these amazing developmental journeys. But a big piece of that, and really the personal piece of it, was about LGBTQ journeys, because there are some steps for LGBTQ individuals that do stand distinct from those of other minorities. In many cases, what sets us apart as LGBTQ folks is not visible. And so those journeys that we take to look inside ourselves and then to figure out how do we give that to the world, that was a fascinating thing that I think came together with this research on how do we grow as adults that Liz has specialized in, and created this product. We're like, this is fascinating. This is something we can really dive into. And wow, are there a lot of good stories out there.
Stay tuned for our first episode on January 10th.